Hello and welcome to the Daily Dharma with me. My name's Deana. If you haven't been here before, I like to do things just a little bit differently. Today I've been dealing with the Saturn retrograde and delays and frustrations trying to get this timeless collective reading recorded. And so during the multiple hours, I have laid out some amount of cards, and one of them is the drum from the Mystical Shaman deck. And so during those few hours, I thought, well, maybe Spirit wants me to go get my drum. So I've been sitting here with my drum, and the drum that I see here we'll get more into, but I'm seeing it as conjuring. So if you like the drum, go ahead and vibe with me for just a second. I'm no pro, I'm just doing this because as we pound out our own little rhythm, then there is a conjuring that occurs. So take the time to clear your energy, call in the God, Source, Universe, angels, archangels, ancestors, all unconditionally loving beings, and get your vibration set and attuned to the message coming to you today. So, just a little heartbeat. I hope you all enjoyed that. It is a nice little energy set. And to go with that, 222, there are all types of energetic clearing devices that can be made sacred, all unto themselves, whatever resonates with you. And just kind of sounding something like this in and around your chakra areas has the effect of calling to you magnetically as well as clearing outwardly and inwardly. It's kind of a as within, so without. As we call in, we offer space and clear the space. So it's somewhat a message of utilizing our magic, setting our space. And in the hours where I was unable to record, I also pulled out my Tao Te Ching deck, very pretty deck, and I asked, why in the world are we stalled today? Have you been having delays yourself? It became part of the message for a reason. And we got 50. The master gives himself up to whatever the moment brings. He knows that he is going to die, and he has nothing left to hold on to. No illusions in his mind, no resistances in his body. He doesn't think about his actions. They flow from the core of his being. He holds nothing back from life. Therefore, he is ready for death as a man is ready for sleep after a good day's work. So have you been able to sleep, or have you been sleeping on your destiny? There's all these Saturnian ideas and ideals coming through from Neptune as well. I will go into just a little bit of the astrology briefly. So if you have listened to this before, the astrology portion is more symbolic for the timeless reads, but for those listening in the moment, the few that are coming along for the ride, I appreciate you all very much for your support and loyalty. We have Mars finally surpassing Chiron, the wounded healer, and so Chiron represents those lifelong lessons and those things that we're contracted to overcome through challenging situations that put us maybe into an identity crisis or into like a crisis of different octaves. Some people, this can be something very simple. Other people, this can represent something life-changing. We do have the transition card on the desk here today. And so with Mars reaching Chiron, it's like here we are facing our fears of taking action perhaps, or really facing down some of our reasons and motives for approaching things as we have and wanting the things that we have. And there's a reevaluation happening based on, is this an ego pursuit, or is this something spiritual, or have I subjugated or repressed my desires and pleasures and actual happiness to identify with group goals or roles or agendas? Whose motivations am I playing out anyways? Are these my parents or my authority figures or those that I didn't think loved me enough? Am I still playing out old narratives or not? So we have Mercury has apparently just turned back to normal forward motion. So we have that going for us, and has just reemerged back into the sign of Gemini here and has reached the 3rd degree. And the sun right now is at 26 degrees Gemini. So both of those in Gemini bring us back into that more fast-paced, we feel like we're under some type of pressure or some type of deadline, or there's so much to do, or so many great things that we want to do, but we've got all these things that we have to do first with Saturn in retrograde, because Saturn can be the buzzkill, but it can also be the commitment maker, the sacred covenant or sacred contract aspect in the heavens. So when that goes retrograde, it can be a change in commitments, a change of focus, a change of commitment to an objective, a way of approach. And if we have been doing the sacred work and taking that good mix of alchemizing the inner landscape and then expressing that outwardly in evolution and in alignment and in sharing the wealth and not sharing the mass poisoning of consciousness with low vibrations. We do the best that we can, and when we do, we get those Dharma aspects back instead of the karmic wheel turning us and throwing us under the wheels of the bus and rolling over us, so to speak. So right now, Mercury is actually sextile Jupiter, which is allowing us to think up new options, but it's that busy-mindedness that may have trouble focusing on one thing. So it helps us with opening our mind, stretching our mind, seeing new options and new directions and new possibilities. It can help us now that we have Mars facing the fears and Aries there with Chiron. It's like, yeah, those were the fears, and I can see when I act out of fear what happens. And then with the Mercury with Jupiter, it's like a bold approach is now possible and will actually have some benefits. So then we also have Venus has just reached the north node of destiny, the lunar north node. So this is the point of activation and walking into that path that challenges us, but actually when we address those issues, then it creates a reward and blessing back unto us. And so with Venus there, it's attracting, hopefully, reaping some type of cycle. And we do have down here at the bottom a harvest card, a good happiness card, but I'll tell you a little bit more here too. The sun right now, where it's at, is activating three pretty decently charged points right here. So Pluto retrograde is now in conjunct or in 150 degree aspect, and that's something that really needs adjustment. And Pluto going retrograde, still working through the last vestiges of that Capricornian control materialism. Like with Saturn retrograde and Pluto retrograde, it's like the power and the control over our obligations or our duties or our limitations that are that somehow have us in a specific set of circumstances that have challenged us to overcome. And this can happen at any different point of our life, but often this is material scarcity, or too many bills, too many obligations, too many kids, maybe. Who knows? But too much work and not enough play is definitely also on the board here today. So the sun is in conjunct Pluto retrograde, so feeling the squeeze there, and is then in trine to Saturn retrograde. So in trine to Saturn retrograde, it's like seeing our limitations, but then being able to witness that mercurial aspect of finally being either tough enough or empowered enough or in a good enough spot mentally or emotionally or whatever, reaching that point of spilling over and being able to open our mind and broaden our sight. We can finally see over the fence, 11:11 there when I said that. It's like we've been building up the stair step. I've got a ladder here. Oh, my ears are just woo right now, buzzing when I said that. This possibility for union sky bridge, I'll show it to you right now in a moment. It's a stone bridge. It's stepping stones. So the karmic lessons of the past, there's a lot of information here that I'm excited to talk to you guys about. So let me do my own due diligence and focus on the message. We're coming through the portal, this gates of heaven. So my condolences if you're dealing with the true loss of someone important in your life, whether good or bad blood. It's never easy to process, but there's something here about having come through an incredibly long journey of challenge and strife and coming out with this princess of the autumn harvest. So this may take until autumn to finally evolve and to reap those harvested blessings. Like, for instance, we just are coming through this springtime ecliptic portal, and now we're at the solstice gateway, which then leads us kind of with a couple other events, like then the Lion's Gate is another big one, and then we'll have the fall eclipses. And I'm trying to think if they're before or after the fall solstice. We'll get back to that another time. As this is timeless, we don't want to get lost on too many of those things. But right now, with those two aspects, the inconjunct and the trine, and then there's a square to Neptune. And Neptune and Pluto have been in a similar sextile with each other, back and forth with an orb for a generation now. So that's not as big of a deal, but it is in another way, because it's the coming of a time. And so the Plutonian cycles, they seem almost like oh, let's not even put our attention on that, because it's just happening so constantly under the surface. It's like a lifetime theme, perhaps, right? That challenging Chiron wound that is, it's always that simmering rage or that simmering insecurity that's just playing out behind the scenes. And I feel like this transition through this gates of heaven, through either the loss of something incredible or just a change in your own soul contract with your higher self here, coming into your own power and your own magic, is attracting the right people to you, taking a time out, withdrawing unto yourself to repair mind, body, and spirit. And I was noticing in those bubbles there are some types of beings, and then there's one down here in this bubble. So this one doesn't seem to really have a real face, that purple one right there. I don't know if you can see those. And she looks like she has a wedding ring on this, and I noticed this before I saw it in the other one I'll show you here in just a moment. Actually, I'll just do it right now. This individual seems to have a wedding ring on as well, but if you look at the picture the way that I have it, it flips in the camera, straddling worlds, wandering between realms. This individual, looking at it from without the camera flip, it's on the left hand and on the ring finger. I don't know if that's culturally specific. I think it's a little bit universal that the left hand finger, and the reason why is supposedly, I don't know if this is real, but the way I understand it is that there's a main blood vessel that goes through the hand, through the arm, and directly into the heart from that, and so it's connected to the heart, and so it was sacred from ancient times. So interesting. So, okay, I want to show you the drum card too, because I believe that the drum card is one of the primary messages. So I'm seeing this in so many different ways. If you're kind of panned out, it looks like it could be just the animal, but as you look closer, there's an individual wearing that. There's a face in there. So it's drawn to be something like an indigenous tribal shamanic ritualistic type of an energy, and I'm seeing this kind of playing out in somebody's daily life as they go about their material job. Like, I'm seeing one person who is possibly just hanging something on the wall or hanging signs at their job or posting marketing somewhere. Another person working on something physically, like in a mechanic working on the wheel or the tire or the brake drum, I was feeling. And then there's this spiral here, which is showing me that this is also a point of meditation, and it's, although it may seem mundane to work in those hands-on type of things that we may be doing, there's that saying about, what do you do before enlightenment? You chop wood and you carry water. And what do you do after enlightenment? You chop wood and carry water. And there's something about that with the drum. It's like having walked on this long journey and being able to rewrite the soul contracts, because I didn't show you that one yet. That one came out as well. And then I should just go top to bottom real quick. So the first card popping out today for you guys was romantic love. So this continues to be a theme. And those of you that are not dealing with a relationship, this can be, as I say, falling back into love with a part of your creativity or a part of your spiritual journey. But I'm feeling that it's somehow the reconsideration of love, a shifting in speaking your truth, speaking your mind, the ability and the support and the time and space and the wherewithal to do so. And this empowerment, creating a reemergence of who you are. It's like maybe having lost yourself at some point, but magic coming in the second position here. And then the third card, empowerment. And I'm going through these a little bit fast, but feel free to pause on these messages and on these images and really take in the imagery. The chakra ones are a little less interesting, but the mandalas that come from sacred geometry are all intended to be viewed and meditated upon. Crown chakra and throat chakra, that's the mind and the throat, obviously, right? So it's the thoughts and belief. And under the deck, I was looking at my astrology, which is why I keep looking up behind the camera here. I have a marker board here. And one of the things that I had already written down was with Mercury and Jupiter in sextile, with that new ideas, bold, new approaches, And then I'm seeing Venus with the North Node as self-care, overcoming some old trust or faith issues, faith in self, trust in your own power and capacity to say what needs to be said in the moment. I've had several opportunities to just gently and gracefully say, no, that's not going to fly. This is what the truth of the matter is. Thank you very much. No, you don't have to feel like you're being a Karen when somebody's literally trying to light you up and gas you up or whatever else, especially when you're so intuitive that you're like a walking lie detector, which many of us are. It's an insult to your spirit to let certain things go, while other times it's okay to let certain things go. Like if somebody that's hungry is taking an apple off my apple tree and I'm not hungry, I'm not gonna call that thievery. I'm gonna call that, sharing. And the deer have been sharing my lilies that I just planted, and it's really difficult for me to forgive those deer. And that's so mundane, right? But it's just one of those things that's just stuck in my craw lately, is how I say it. It's an irritant. It's aggravating me. And then, I have other situations going on that are putting similar pressure of this, like, aggravation. Just do the right thing. Go find your sustenance someplace else. This is my sacred space. And then the universe is like, well, let's send you this little test. Let's send you this little test. And I had been writing down on my marker board that we're looking at those lessons and delays as an opportunity to kind of try to practice our vibration, the preferred vibration, and work on that law of attraction. But then it's like, a little bit of steam coming out of the ears at different times when you just keep having to look at something on a couple times in a row in different forms. And not all of us are as fiery as myself, but it sometimes just gets me a little bit bent, and then I have to correct myself. It's like, do you really want to practice that vibration? Do you really want to be aggravated and then see 10 more things spiral out of control? No. I'm going to just take a deep breath, and I'm going to try to say, okay, that's a redirect. If this is not letting me pass go, I'm going to go over here and recheck, let's say, my wires, or recheck and reboot my device I had to do today. Or a couple other things, like Saturn retrograde wants to work in our favor, and it gives us the correct delay to act as a buffer, a protection, and a practice run, but also the time and space to go back and do it right before we have to do it over again. And if we have to do it over again, we're getting the challenging pressure to practice those skills. And as I wrote that, I was getting aggravated with this thing, and I finally ended up rebooting, and it worked out. I walked away, we had lunch, maybe I was just hangry, I'm not sure, but self-care is on the board for a reason here. Repairing the mind, body, and spirit, me-tox. And today, that me-tox, instead of just like me space, I was also kind of feeling it as an ego detox, like me, like, oh, why does this happen to me, feeling personalized. Not that I necessarily dipped into that fully, but it's kind of a spiritual tap on the shoulder that's saying, don't make so much of this. We're giving you time and space so that you can add humor into the situation instead of bitterness or aggravation or betrayal or whatever is coming up, or control or power are definitely issues with Saturn and Pluto. And so feeling like something has us by the short hairs, or that someone is in power or control over us, like it can definitely be partners and bosses and things like that. So with romantic love on the board, though, I'm seeing that there's a new consideration of love, and we have cosmic flower too to continue on through. So we've got the crown and the throat, which is, the throat is also speaking our purpose and speaking our truth and having that sense of personal identity instead of an ego identity in charge of our life. And so it supports our self-expression and our sense of peace and balance. No matter what's going on around us, we have the choice to be a beacon of peace. And when we're not, we can purposely say, I need to take time and space to reorient myself somehow. And it's not always completely possible. Like in traffic, you can't just, I mean, you could pull over, but sometimes that would be dangerous. Literal, right? Okay, so then we have, I don't know if I showed that, transition 43. Transition seems to me an about face, and it talks to me about how Mercury has just gone retrograde and then has stationed and gone back forward into Gemini. So there's been a transition there where we had to rethink something. We had to redo, restart our routers or something else, right? Reboot our systems. And with me talks here, that can definitely be rebooting the self, unplugging literally and plugging back in. I took a couple days off because I had some major stuff that just needed my full attention, and I was doing some number crunching, which to me is oppositional energy somewhat to being able to read the cosmos. Reading figures is very Saturnian and very like nose to the grindstone, and you can't just be like, oh, la, 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 well, I'll just put this number there for now. That doesn't work with numbers. Numbers are very limited, and checks and balances need to be established to make those numbers work out. And with magic, sometimes the numbers and the frequencies, I want to just call the attention back to that flower of life there that happens on both the throat chakra and the crown chakra, compared to this cosmic flower. So it's similar imagery being used. And what I want to say about that is I feel like whatever about face that you've done mentally with Mercury, readdressing the value, readdressing self-care, and then looking all the way through that potential old habit pattern that has been creeping up again, looking at those challenging lessons and invitations to shift our vibration. We've been trying it and mastering it as we've gone along, and utilizing our magic to see through and to empower the energies that we want to bring into our life. And this is creating this possibility for union. And whether you see that as a union with self or another, I was seeing this, we continue to have this, and then this romantic love, and we've had possibility for union several times. We'll show that one more time. It seems like the sun there, but it seems more like a portal to me. It's almost like not our main solar system sun, but maybe something like Sirius B, because I already brought up the Lionsgate portal when there's an alignment and the sun is in Leo at that time. This is very yellow orangish energy. It makes me feel very much like something is coming in, and there's going to be this shift coming in between this gateway right now with the solstice gateway, and then this union happening. And especially because I saw those two with rings. So that brings us to the straddling worlds. And I'm seeing the unique nature of this card, because you often see cards depicting the feminine in her very natural, naked form, but you don't see the masculine shown that way very much in his full vulnerability. But this gentleman, to me, today is looking very mercurial because he has the wings also coming off of his face. And see how this card here calls back to this card here. The beautiful imagery is happening. So in the way that I have this laid out with this on my table, I have this, let's see if I can do this. I have this laid out in this type of a way. So like she's over here doing self-care, and then he's over here reaching from the mundane where he's operating his sacred drum, but he's in two worlds. He's in the world, but not necessarily fully of it. Maybe part of his mundane work is actually coming through what do I want to say? Like it's the portal, like there's some type of connectivity going on behind the scenes, some type of mental and emotional, telepathic, magical bond being forged between this Metox appearing to be feminine card and this straddling worlds wandering between realms. And I sense that this wandering between realms and this drum card are perhaps the same individual working in the real world in some type of a way, but employing their skills in a way that channels things through them and into the world. Almost like a Hierophant type of a card where they're doing that hands up. It's like I am a conduit, a clear and perfect channel, listening to and doing my best to relay these messages unto the world. And as I pound my drum, I'm asking those energies to come through me and take shape through me, through my hands, and through those things that I touch. And this right here is like a contract between you and your higher self, I feel. But there's also this element recently where we're able to kind of forego previous contracts. There's been a finishing up and a moving into a new sacred contract with new groups, new others, new soul tribe. I feel like, I don't know how many people are saying this now, but I feel like we're in an ongoing wave of ascension. But right now, the last few years, particularly for me, it kind of was unrelenting since 2012 and possibly even before that. But I felt a quickening in 2017. I felt a quickening in 2019. And I feel like then it was just pressure and pressure from 2019 until 2021. And then in 2022, I'm feeling this, an element of wanting to break free, cast off, release, let go, and just this like Superman, like busting the buttons off of his shirt and revealing his Superman insignia, like I am a superhero and I am jumping out to save the world. I mean, I know this sounds dramatic, but it's like with that empowerment of romantic love, it's like either and I think that this is in tandem, there's an empowerment of self, which is creating that desire and that attractability at the same time. It's like the power is the yang and the romantic love is the yin, and then witnessing it and encountering it unto the mirror with Gemini here in the sky bridge straddling worlds. It's like one person is conjuring and releasing and detoxing, and they're both maybe even doing their own thing, but connecting to the commonality. So maybe there's people working towards a common union in a group context as well, and there are many different individuals in different states of being, and then there's somebody drawing them in. So there's possibly going to be some type, maybe this is you, that is gathering people to them. And for me, I was reminded that I've really been wanting to have a drum circle and to have somebody come and visit and do this for a group of individuals, and to create sacred space for an extended unplugged weekend, and to create sacred tools for the craft, if you will. I mean, not that I'm not Wiccan, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I mean, don't project anything on me. If it's your deal, it's your deal. So the next Tao card, I'll move on to that real quick. 59. For governing a country well, there's nothing better than moderation. The mark of a moderate man is freedom from his own ideas. Open-minded, right? Tolerant, like the sky, all-pervading, like sunlight, firm like a mountain, supple like a tree in the wind. He has no destination in view and makes use of anything life happens to bring his way. Nothing is impossible for him because he has let go. He can care for the people's welfare as a mother cares for her child. And so I'm seeing this softening happening to the masculine polarity of both genders. And it's the masculine honoring the sacred vulnerability, the sacred inner child, the sacred divine feminine within his own. And do you see how the straddling world in his vulnerability, like the moderation, the temperance card that I'm thinking of, and then he's literally in between. I wish I could just flip you around. Maybe I'll do that before I let you go. I'll let you see the whole desk. I don't know how to do the thumbnail yet, but he's literally sitting on top of crown chakra and throat chakra, and then he's wearing the colors of blue and purple. So it's like the yang aspect of self has been speaking out the messages that have magnetized through our magical connectivity, and it's time for some type of gathering to occur. There's been some type of delay or some type of perhaps limitation imposed where you just don't have time to make one thing happen. But then if you switch it, like for me, with maybe this drum circle, that's, I think, what my message is to switch gears from where I wasn't getting any traction there and shifting, being flexible. Because this says, the master gives himself up to whatever the moment brings. And then this one says, and makes use of anything life happens to bring his way. And it's about like there's a season and there's a time, turn, that song, right? Tolerant like the sky in the moment when it needs to be, when it's called for, all pervading like sunlight, luminous, radiant, expressive, firm like a mountain, unyielding when something unequal comes to push the mountain doesn't bow, right? It's from a Disney movie, Mulan. Yeah, supple like a tree in the wind, so yielding in the moment also, so as not to break down. We need to honor what comes our way. Nothing is impossible for us because we are ready to let go. And in letting go, we can care for everyone's welfare because it isn't just me. We're me-toxing in a way that now we can recognize the highest possible good. And over here we have 73 under the Tao deck. The Tao is always at ease. It overcomes without competing, answers without speaking a word, arrives without being summoned, accomplishes without a plan. Its net covers the whole universe And though its meshes are wide, it doesn't let a thing slip through. So while you're waiting for something, don't tap your fingers and get upset. Contemplate what else needs to be done while that's getting done. Somewhat multitasking with some type of focused agenda so that you don't get too many irons in the fire at once on different times. Then you're married to the fire, if you will, right? So completing the line here with the blended Shaman's Dream and the Mystical Shaman Oracle decks here, we had that drum card, which is the 15, following this contract with higher self. In following that, we have 59, upper world. And today, I generally see that as more of like an owl type of a figure, one figure coming in angelic. It seems like an owl, but it also seems like something completely different. But today I'm seeing it as two birds flying in from opposite directions, but merged and whole and complete together here. And it's like the higher self is the extended wing beyond, and then the mundane self, the third dimensional self here on this plane, is the more formulated, the constructed here. And it's like the mesh, to me, is kind of, it's like casting your net, allowing things to go their own way, but never losing anything. So it's like if we are, for instance, letting go of family, friends, loved ones, pets, letting go of our silly little things like our lilies and maybe a car, maybe something that you weren't ready to deal with a new one yet. There's something else coming in, and so we're being told to continue to kind of let that go because there's magic afoot. So that is under the deck of the shamanic decks, we have Dust Devil moving out of stagnation. Look at that cyclone energy. And that reminds me too that while I was reading that Tao, overcomes without competing. It's like, okay, the mountain doesn't bow to the wind, but the wind and the rain can erode the mountain. And there's something about the erosion with time, the ruins and aging process, the maturing process and aging process, and connecting to the upper worlds of God, Source, Universe, however you call in your ancestors, your higher self. There is definitely a lot of happiness coming towards us, and it's not all about the accomplishment at the end. It's walking in that peace and serenity and gifting ourselves that right now. And I'm seeing that in addition to this, it feels like either this new power seems like it's attracting new love, and in whatever form, new groups, new one-on-ones, whatever it is. And there's this cosmic flower yet again explaining to us that it's this expressive bloom cycle. It's passionate, creative, it's heartfelt, it's explosive, it's offering up new possibilities and potentials in places where we hadn't been able to, right? It's in that way of the yin-yang symbol, how one cuts in and then backs over here in that strange shape, right? Oh, yeah. Like this. It's like one person, not codependently, but one person in the group has this niche, and another person has this niche. And the other person is more of a perimeters person, a behind-the-scenes person here, and the dark matter over here. And somebody else is better at the outside, the appealing to the masses, has that attractive charisma or whatever. I'm seeing something with either one-on-ones or some other way where you're being drawn out, you're being invited out. And part of your self-care was your retreat. and to learn how to connect across the realms. But now you're also being told that there's this return into community. And I'm seeing that you're no longer feeling so wounded by whatever Chiron life lessons and insecurities that you may have harbored in the past. You've done the introspective work, and yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm just repeating myself. So one other thing that I did lay out here, because we had romantic love and because I was sitting here for so long, oh, and one other thing too, under the deck, emergence. So something is definitely emerging for us, and for many of us it is a true romance because it's been on the board for many days and many weeks now. So I took the Doreen Virtue Romance Angels deck, and I shuffled and shuffled and shuffled, and I split it into 4 piles that I have not looked at, and I was thinking there are probably 4 groups at least of us who could use a little bit of guidance in the romance department, because it's such a draining issue at times where we just can't see beyond ourselves, right? Or we don't know, should we trust our instincts and intuition? Generally, yes, unless it's broken, right? So with that said, pick that number between 1 and 4. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause the video, feel into yourself, take some deep breaths, and pick out some type of number 1 through 4 here, and let's start going through them. The first one, your romantic guidance off the top. We have free yourself. It's time to take back control of your life. Caged unicorn there on that picture, but look at the size of that horn on the unicorn. It's like 2 things in the moment. One is, it seems like that huge radio antenna on the 3rd eye attuned to spirit. I mean, it's so big it goes off the image here, and it's like you've put yourself in a very protected environment in some type of a way, comfort zone or otherwise, or relationship or job, where your spiritual gifts have not been necessarily the focus, but you've been channeling while you've been there and integrating those things into your ideals for self, and now you're feeling the momentum to move forward in that way. But you're being told that something has gained either control of your path in some type of a way, or you've allowed somebody else or something else to kind of eclipse your momentum and motivation. Reconciliation. So someone from your past is returning to your life with free yourself. Might be somebody that was a little unrealistic or gaslighting, because I'm seeing the clouds. It may have been somebody that you projected a lot of Neptunian bliss onto, idealized in some way, held on a pedestal. Trust your intuition on that one, and you need somewhat of a bigger pond to thrive in. And then we have the soulmate card. Yes, this is your soulmate, but I'm seeing a light-haired couple and a dark-haired couple here. So this reconciliation may be between other individuals that you're encountering. And then under the deck, finances and career. Financial issues are a factor in your love life right now. All right, that's group number 1. So group number 2, your cards say retreat. It's time to disconnect from the world, but I do see that that's a kind of like a wedding dress, and it may be like going on a retreat with another individual. This one is coming out over magic, throat chakra transition. And then we have attraction. You attract romantic love fully by enjoying this moment fully. And last one, passion. Allow your heart and soul to sing with joy. So, yeah, maybe you're thinking about taking a romantic retreat with somebody to um, get a little bit deeper into things. Okay, and under the deck for you, worth waiting for. Divine timing is at work in your love life. So there you have it, group number 2. Number 3. New love. A new person has stirred your romantic feelings. And look at all those little cupids trying to call her attention. So you may be having a lot of signs and synchronicities. And although she's not carrying water or wood right here, she's got, it looks like chickens in one basket and eggs in the next. So I don't know if you're bringing in some groceries or going to the store, and the individual coming up seems to be a little bit armored, but it looks like both individuals have this eye connection and a little bit of an understood attraction. Engagement. Your love life is ascending to a higher level of commitment. And this one's coming over empowerment, transition, and cosmic flower. Third card for you, give your relationship a chance. Work on your partnership. It looks like in this one, the masculine is waiting for a sign from the feminine, and that the feminine is nostalgic over the past. Under the deck, getting to know each other. So there's a bit of like feeling like it's leading towards engagement, but not sure at this point. The fourth group, come on in, fourth group, past life relationship. You've known each other before. Very soon. Clearly decide what you want so that it comes to you now. And third card for you. Oh, it came out with 2. There's a wedding card and a deception card. I mean, for some of you, that definitely could be who's been cheated on in a marriage, or who is leaving a marriage, or who's cheating in a marriage. But very soon there's going to be a change in this dynamic. Under the deck says true love. This is the romance of a lifetime, but with deception there and past life relationship, there's definitely an element of karmic foolery going on in that one. So lastly, I will tell you that I also pulled out some cards from the Kuan Yin and Kali decks mixed. I showed you the Gates of Heaven, number 12, and the Princess of the Autumn Harvest, number 22. And under the deck, we had Bahadra Kali, number 14. And in the book, I always like to look at the book when I'm not getting a lot right off the bat. She, to me, seems like her eyes are not focused, like she's taking an in-breath, like she's getting in the process of getting a message, or like getting the message is kind of a literal thing about working magically with our power in loving ourselves enough to stand in our full power. And I'll call out too, at the base of that tub, I'm seeing a dragon in this energy. So it's like calling all of your power back unto yourself, and her 2 gems are in that yellowish orangish color. So there, it talks to me back against that, or again about that instinctual effort. So I want to read you just the beginning of these 2. This Bahadra Kali, our wild divine mother, knows when to become gentle with our hearts, bestowing sweetness that liberates us from fear. Though you may have faced much struggle and challenge on your path, though it may seem only the most powerful intensity could stem the tide of negativity, the dark Mother of Grace will conquer the obstacles to your freedom with gentleness. She manifests herself now as Bahadra the Gentle. She will calm the waves of emotion, eradicate doubt and despair, and provide safe and graceful passage through all difficulties. Yes. So it's about embracing and aligning with your powerful dragon spirit, if that resonates, or with the conjuring of your worth and your value in the moment, in order to call in your blessings. It's part of those lessons that repeat, is what I'm feeling, or somebody intensely in your situation is. So the Princess of the Autumn Harvest brings gifts of bounty and blessings for efforts and actions of the past. It's a time when fruits of labors is ripe for the picking. A beautiful blessing is on its way to you now. This may come in the form of a spiritual gift, an opportunity, a windfall of abundance, a significant relationship, or an important friendship, and more. With gratitude in your heart, you will recognize the blessing when it comes to you, and it will serve you perfectly. Be open to receive it, knowing it is justly deserved. So some of the initial messages that I also wanted to just have just a little bit of time for at this solstice gateway, I was picking up on that gentle softening with the drum compared to that straddling between worlds. And I'm feeling like this is trust beyond fear, eradicating doubt and the lower attachments that are shown from the previous journey. It's like there's a meeting of the minds here with upper world and transition, and this romantic love card too. It's a connectivity going on for this new start, and we'll be able to speak our mind with grace, which is empowered. It's knowing thyself enough to speak and advocate when it's important. And empowerment is almost like in our power mind, in a mind mindful of our power, our authority, and the duty that comes with wielding great power. And I totally knew I was going to forget that romantic love is the number 39, and so is the me talks, repairing the mind, body, and spirit. It's as though this consideration of romantic love, or this new love, or this, what else do we have? Past life relationship, this reconciliation with a soulmate here, this passionate getaway, whatever pile you are in, it's like creating this reset and coming back into your own. So I was hearing also right away those magic words. So when I was little, those magic words were please and thank you. But then when people talk about those magic words later on, it can be I love you, or hey, let's move in, or it can be like let's go on a date, or I find you really attractive and incredible and amazing. It can be emerging feelings, emerging attractions and passions of all types, or I still have feelings for you with reconciliation. And that it doesn't have to be romantic. It can be, with several situations crossing into this reading with several different people. You can have a romantic love and be reconciling with family members or estranged coworkers, whatever, old groups and associations, going back to an old job. So yeah, or those magic words like I do, the commitment of a lifetime where you sign your name on the dotted line to a mortgage or something else. So yeah, belief and perspective. I had initially noticed too that Mercury went all the way back into Taurus, and I had it written wrong on my board. And I was seeing a juxtaposition between Mercury and having a mental shakeup, or a restart mentally, an activation or epiphany or tower moment of sorts in the past as part of the journey, and reliving and shaking that loose from our psyches, and then moving into that higher path and higher destiny through self-care through facing our fears and affirming our own worth and value. And so as that belief in self changes, the perspective changes on your whole entire power base. And so that inner power shift reveals the right partners for you. So I hope that that all helped you all very much. I trust that you were able to get something from this message. And if you were, please do not hesitate to be the first one to ring my like button. And if you were able to get something from this or know somebody that could use some of this messaging, so just share, subscribe, comment, whatever else you're called to do. Thank you so much for joining me and sticking it out with me. I will also be recording all signs reading next. So take care. Bye for now.